Welcome back to Ranking Zelda Dungeons. Again, if you haven't seen the first part and second part, you gotta watch those first. I'm serious, you have to watch them first. Unless you came here specifically to watch me talk about Majora's Mask. I said in the last video that, Majora's Mask is an incredible game, and everybody should play it. Actually, that's not true. Everybody who thinks he or she can play it should play it. Because, like, it's not for everyone. Majora's Mask really isn't. It's not even for me very much. But, I've enjoyed it. Many people have enjoyed it. But, again, like I said in the last video, its strengths do not lie in dungeons. They really don't. They lie in side quests, and story, world building, all those great stuff that are not dungeons. The characters, delicious. The message, delicious. I don't know. I don't know about that one, but not the. I mean, yes, the dungeons. But if you don't know, there are only 4 dungeons. There are only 4 dungeons. You got Woodfall Temple, Snowhead, Snowhead something, and then you got the Great Bay Temple and Stone Tower Temple, which I'm not going to be ranking because I have not played. I started the Great Bay Temple and didn't finish it. I have not even started the Stone Tower Temple because obviously I never made it past Great Bay. All right. So with that said, let's talk about Woodfall. This is a bit of a different one. So I ranked the inside the Deku Tree for how good of an introductory dungeon it was, right? And that makes sense because it started the entire series. Yeah, that's fine. But the thing about Woodfall is that when you get to Woodfall, the dungeon anyway, when you get to Woodfall Temple, you've already been playing Majora's Mask probably for at least an hour and a half to a couple hours. You know, I'm not very good at estimating how long you've been playing the game. I said you got to Jabu Jabu's belly 2 hours in. That's probably not true. I don't know how long it is. But anyway, yeah, Woodfall, it doesn't have to act as an introductory dungeon. If anything, it just acts as an introductory dungeon to the combat, because you probably haven't been seeing much of that. But not dungeons. The Majora's Mask pretty much expects you to have already played Ocarina of Time. They expect you to know. Excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. They expect you to know how 3D Zelda works at this point. But yeah, you've already been good. You've already started being all right at Zelda as a whole, 3D Zelda as a whole, and also Majora's Mask by the time you get to Woodfall. So that gives it space to be a good dungeon. You know, obviously Deku Tree was a good dungeon too, but it wasn't a good dungeon because of the enemies or the puzzles. It was a good dungeon because of its teaching tools. Woodfall doesn't need teaching tools, besides maybe a couple combat teaching tools. It just needs to be a good dungeon. And it is. It is a good dungeon. I gotta say, one thing about the Majora's Mask dungeons, the Great Fairies, the Lost Fairies are really good. I love that whole concept. You know, getting great stuff for collecting all the fairies and dungeons is really good because it makes you be a little more patient and not just speedrun through everything. If you don't know, I should probably say, if you don't know, the way they work is in every dungeon there's 15 stray fairies, and if you collect all of them, you can get new stuff. So, at least in the 3D version, getting all of them in Woodfall, you get an upgraded spin attack. Pretty sure it's an upgraded spin attack. And then for all of them in Snowhead, it is doubled magic meter. And then in if you get all of them in Great Bay, you acquire all you get basically the blue mail, which means all the damage you take is halved, and then if you get all of them in Stone Tower, you get the Great Fairy Sword, which is pretty much Big Oron's sword. So anyway, with that out of the way, the actual the Great Fairy locations are really good. It's great. And also the actual enemies not very hard. They don't have to be honest. But the boss, at least in the 3D version, he was the worst. I really do not like fighting Odolwa because he's pathetic. He's way too easy to fight. And I just don't like it. If I got through when I've played Majora's Mask 3D, I was always really, really anxious about the time. And so I got through the temple, the dungeon, being like, wow, it's still the second day. I can do so much. I can do the butler and all that. But I still got to get through this boss, this really hard boss. And then I fight Odolwa, and I'm like, wow, that was really underwhelming. But I do like how fighting dungeons, completing dungeons, does stuff in the overworld. So, again, the dungeons in Majora's Mask are all really good, except for the Water Temple. I'm going to put this, I'm going to put it right here. Right here. Okay, that took actually quite some time for me to explain. I'm sorry. Snowhead. I've got to say, Snowhead has got to be one of my all-time favorite dungeons in any Zelda game ever. Because I said earlier that I skipped half of it, by doing a really precise jump. I said imprecise, I meant precise. I did skip it, but before then, I enjoyed it a lot. I liked the puzzle solving. I liked how, I'm one of the few people who, when he plays through a dungeon that's like the first half is all, oh, I wish I had the fire arrows, and the next half is like, oh, I can do so much with the fire arrows. I'm one of the people who actually likes that. Nobody else seems to, but I definitely do. I like treading through the same ground. Yeah, spoiler alert. Temple of Time, Twilight Princess, it's gonna be pretty high. But yeah, it's the Snowfall is like that. The first half is, oh, I wish I had fire arrows. The second half is like, oh, I can do so much with my fire arrows. But then there's actually a third half, so it's actually more like a third. And then the third is, okay, let's solve some problems with the fire arrow so that I can punch down this tower that came up so I can get to the boss door. I didn't know that. Well, I did know that, but I didn't do that. But it doesn't matter that I didn't do that, because that's only half the fun. The next half the fun is getting to fight Goat. Goat is one of the most memorable and just epic bosses in all of Zelda history, because I guess I should break it down for you. Goat, G-O-H-T. You step into the boss room, and then you see him frozen in ice. So you shoot a fire arrow at him, and he thaws out. And you see that he's actually you already saw this, but he is a huge mechanical goat, or like a ram with horns and things. And so the basically how the fight works is he'll be running around this racetrack, and you'll turn into Goron Link, and you'll be also going in the racetrack, hitting him with your Goron power. And there are magic jars that you can hit to refill your magic meter, so you don't run out of magic and get soft locked. In the original, at least, I'm not sure if this is the case in 3D. In the original, you can cheese the fight by just going and shooting him with arrows, and you can just shoot him with arrows, dodge his attacks, and you're fine. I didn't try that in the 3D version because that's a much less fun way to do it. And also because there's a thing in the 3D version where they make once we hit him enough, he falls down, you have to hit him in the eye or whatever. I didn't find that to be too immersion breaking. Most people did, but I didn't. But yeah, it's just Goat is just so fun, man. I said in Woodfall Temple, Odolwa messed everything up because because he was so anticlimactic, which is actually making me reconsider. I'm gonna put him right here. Make me, well, Goat is climactic. I feel like Snowhead is kind of not the antithesis to Woodfall, but it's kind of like it's kind of like Black too. It's kind of like Black too. Pokemon Black 2. Where it's just, it takes the flaws from the original, and in this case that means Woodfall Temple, and makes everything better. And everything is fun, except for when you get frozen. That's not fun. Is there anything in that dungeon that freezes you? I don't even think so. Everything is great. I love the whole Snowhead region. And seeing everything turn green again, it's so great. Especially because you have to, especially for the Razor Sword, and the Golden Sword. You got both of those through Snowhead, and those are just better swords. And it's just so great. It's just so great, man. I love Woodfall Temple. It's a top 5 dungeon for sure. Okay. This time it's only 11 minutes, but that's fine. I'll see you in the next episode, because I don't think I'm gonna talk about Minish Cap yet. I can't believe I just talked for 10 minutes about Majora's Mask.